to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming tonight. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Gary, second by Ron. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. This time we have time for public comment. Consent items. Do I have a motion to approve the consent items?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Ron, second by Kevin. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving right into discussion items. Meeting schedule for 2017.
With the January organizational meeting, do we still want to be meeting on Tuesdays? Are Tuesdays still the best day for meetings? In looking at other dates, Mondays, as a lot of other school boards meet on Mondays. However, Mondays are, as you can see, I put together the dates on which meetings cannot be held or have limited times to be held. That the first 3 meetings we would have, or out of the first 4 meetings, if we moved to Mondays, the first 3 would have to be rescheduled. That's just one of the issues with Monday meetings. The only conflict with a Thursday would be Thanksgiving, but then next year it's the 4th Thursday. Tuesdays, the only conflict with Tuesdays would be the election, November 7th, because July 4th is usually in the month of July we have 1 meeting. We don't have the first meeting on a Tuesday. Wednesdays, this community likes to hold Wednesdays as far as a kind of a day if there are church things going on, so they like to stay away from Wednesday meetings. And then Fridays, I don't know if any of you would want to give up a Friday for a board meeting. I know we probably wouldn't have any audience here at all.
Or the secretary.
Or
Oh, that's good. At least you know what Ann said. So Friday's a good idea.
No, it's definitely not Fridays then.
No.
But it's just, I wanted to, instead of just assuming, I wanted to make sure that I heard from you as far as what works best and then what times work best. We had it at 5:30 before, we moved it to 6. Would 6:30 be better, or we've had it at 6:30 and moved it back to 6? I don't know. There has been some movement there, so I just wanted to, if I could get ideas from each of you as
Kevin,
far
I
as.
guess it doesn't matter for you.
I'm retired, so every day Saturday, so I guess they'd all be Saturdays to me.
Okay. Saturday's not a good day for me, though, Kevin. Gary?
6 is fine.
Yeah.
6 and Tuesdays?
Yeah. How about Michaeline?
For Michaeline, she got her schedule arranged for the second semester so that Tuesdays would be available. So for Michaeline, she really wanted it to stay on Tuesdays. And Josh Norleen came in today and said he could make Tuesdays work. Thursdays might be a little better, but I'm not sure if Michaeline could get a Thursday to work at all.
How about timing for Josh?
Yeah, it doesn't say it's time. Did he say anything about time? Would 6:30 be better as opposed to 6? Did he say?
Yes, later would be, he said it's, his work, Mondays are the worst, and then as the week goes down, it would be better. So I'm not sure about time.
We should check with him on that, just to get his side of it. Gary, would it matter for you if it was 6:30 or 6?
But would that matter for Joe as far as fire?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's why we moved it up.
That's why we moved it to 6 from 6:30
7 is
because.
his
Mhm.
meetings, right? in
He
theory.
hasn't been leaving lately.
Actually, we
though.
moved them to Wednesdays now.
Oh, man, and he still leaves? No, I'm just joking.
So we could move it back to, we could move them to 6:30, because for those of you that
Well,
work,
let's bring it around and then we'll
Yep.
maybe look at a 6:30 start time. Ron, you're,
I'm not adverse to 6:30.
okay. Mimi?
Tuesdays or Thursdays would work for me, but I really feel strongly that we should have everybody here when we
Mhm.
make the decision, and including the new board member
Oh, yeah,
as
for
well.
sure.
Mhm.
I agree with that, so. Why don't we check with him if 6:30 may work out for everybody better?
okay?
You know, ask, it sounded like 6:30 may, and for him, the new member, that would be beneficial, you can get a hold of him. Or I can give him a call and ask.
Mhm. It's just, at that January meeting, we need to set our schedule, so that's why we need to have the conversation before that first
No, that's good.
meeting in January.
Okay. Was that it? Anybody else? Okay, Caledonia Sports Cooperative.
Last year, I don't know if any of you followed in the news, Caledonia and Spring Grove had several meetings to really finalize, or solidify, I should say, and document their cooperative agreement with sports. And so I did put that agreement in the packet. Caledonia would like to have something written down with us for our co-ops with them. What's happened is in the co-ops for wrestling and for boys and girls soccer, and then we have co-opted with gymnastics in the past, but that's not listed as a co-op currently. In those co-op agreements, the sports haven't been, the co-op hasn't been handled the same way. Each was done kind of with a verbal handshake between the ADs, and then the boards approved the co-op without having anything on paper, which leaves those of us who are coming in after the fact, after that verbal agreement has been done. We have new ADs in both districts. We have different superintendents in both districts from when the co-op was made. And we're all trying to say, okay, what was agreed to? What are the stipulations? What are the, how are we paying for this? What are the user fees? And so it would be nice to make sure that that agreement is actually written down. What I'd like to have happen is that we get 2 or 3 board members from our board who would be willing to sit down with 2 or 3 board members from Caledonia. That's also what Ben Martin, their superintendent, has requested, so that we can sit down and actually create a cooperative agreement for all the sports that would work.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Mhm.
Is there a reason why we weren't involved in this when you said Spring Grove and Caledonia have already talked? And I see on here it's got gymnastics, soccer, and wrestling, the things that we would be cooperating with them. Was there a reason we weren't involved in the initial communications?
It was, this happened last year during the school year. And
I mean,
I
I'm just
think
kind of curious.
it was about, if I remember correctly, it was about wrestling, because if they would have added Spring Grove to the wrestling co-op, it would have put them in a different class. And no kids from Spring Grove actually wanted to do wrestling. So why,
Yeah, but on here it has that, that's why I
It-
was just
it-
kind of curious.
but it doesn't in number 5. Sports that will be co-opt in those 3 years are just those 6. Wrestling wasn't part of it. But wrestling, they wanted to leave it
Oh,
open, that if
'cause I-
any of the
okay.
kids wanted to do wrestling, they have that opportunity. And so now, if this year, there are some kids in Spring Grove that want to do wrestling, they can amend this. It's, it can be amended at any time during that 3-year
Yeah, but
period.
aren't we involved in, you said soccer and gymnastics?
We don't have anyone in gymnastics this year, so that co-op is not,
Yeah, but this was, you know, I'm getting at. Like, we're
I
part
know
of the
exactly
group
what,
here.
yeah, I know exactly what you're getting at.
Last year.
Why were we not involved last
Yeah.
year? I have no idea.
I see there's a flat rate up there on that, and I'm wondering, would we be in a position to negotiate the seats in Virtual Academy that we provide to them?
See, and I think at this point, yeah, that should all be on the table.
Yeah, I think it should be.
I think, as we are doing things that are mutually beneficial, we need to make sure that the benefit is truly mutual. You're absolutely right. But that's why we need to sit down at the table and actually do some of this negotiation and get something in writing. Because I don't want a co-op where we don't have any students that want to participate, putting them into a larger school bracket, because that just creates bad blood, and I don't want that. But I do want to make sure that for those sports that we can't field on our own because we don't have enough interest, that those students that we have who attend Houston have that ability to still participate in a sport they love. So I think it's important that we do what we can to maintain that ability to co-op. Now, we already have a co-op with Rushford Peterson. It's a contract that was written 25 years ago, and right now, we're trying to find the copy of it. The board, it wasn't in the board packets that we can find, but we know that it got approved, and Rushford's looking for it, and we're looking for it. But that's the co-op agreement for track. And La Crescent, we have had a co-op before with hockey, boys hockey. However, right now on the high school league, that co-op is not recognized, so that co-op has been disbanded. How that happened, I don't know. We have nothing documented on that one either.
Well, the last time we had somebody that did hockey, I remember because I thought it was ridiculously expensive. We said that the kid needed to pay $1,000 to do hockey in La Crescent because it wasn't a co-op. They had to pay for it out of pocket.
Ice time.
Right. So that was the fee to the Houston student to do it.
And
So does the online numbers of students count when we're doing a co-op and they're looking at doing one with us? And because we're the larger school, quite frankly, in the area in numbers, we would definitely bump somebody in the bracket if the online students were counted, are they not?
No, they are not counted
Okay.
because it's counted by school, and so Houston High School is separate from MNVA. It's not by
Okay.
district.
Okay.
So, but that's a good question. And it's one that we've had to answer a lot with, and it's one that's been kind of problematic with the high school league too, as far as how to handle the online students who want to participate in sports. Right now, they get to participate at their resident districts.
So we want to set a time to have a meeting with Caledonia.
I would appreciate that,
ADs and-
because I want to make sure that those students that want to participate, for winter, we don't have anyone this year that wants to do gymnastics. We had a gymnast last year.
Yeah, so does our AD want a time, is they're thinking of that, when they want to do this?
Well, first,
And if we can have a couple school board members go up and be part of the conversation, I'm sure a few people would volunteer to go, I don't know.
does anyone have a burning desire to?
I mean, I'll go, I mean.
Well, is
Joe may
it
go,
just
I don't know.
sports? I mean, it's been a while
That's on
since
this
we've
part
talked.
of it.
So you're just talking sports?
Yeah, on this part, I mean, I'm not saying if there's other things you're thinking of, I know we did some stuff with them with robotics, right, in the past, and,
Well, no, I'm not thinking of that. I'm thinking of the free seats we give them and Kevin's mention of trading. Now we're talking about what we talked about in the past, about how to work together to make both schools better.
right.
Is that what we're talking about? Are we talking about the free seats, or are we just talking about this co-op?
I would think just this go up at this time, the free seats, I think we should have a conversation like we did the last time with more of the school board members, maybe even like the online
I'd put it on the table.
Well, we
I
can.
mean, I think there's a value there that they're, being in a co-op with them and that at their location, et cetera, there's value they're giving to that co-op. I understand that, why there would be a flat rate. But we've been giving them some free seats, which have value as well. I'm
Right.
not saying go back, but I definitely think they should be on the table in the discussion. Maybe not, but they should be mentioned at the first one, that that's something we consider.
Yeah. But I think if
As
we go with the
value.
online part of it, we may have to have further, there may be other discussions there.
Well, because we were doing that in exchange for an ag
Right.
teacher, an FFA. So
Right.
now you've got another topic as well, so.
Right.
Is that still ongoing?
Their ag teacher also teaches their industrial tech classes, so looking at the second semester offerings, the only ag class that he's teaching is a college in the schools class, and that's nothing that the students that we have that have shown an interest in ag wanted to take. They did not want to take the college in the schools class. And so that's only that would be the only ag class he's offering. The other classes he's offering are all being taught here by Mr. Kaler.
And do we have anybody in FFA?
Not that I know of. Because right now, they need to be actively involved in like an agriculture
Mhm.
class
They don't have to be.
to do the competitions.
To do a certain level of competition,
Yeah.
but they can be an FFA without doing that, because my kids did that, so.
I don't know of anyone in FFA this year.
So it doesn't sound like we're giving them free seats in
Are
exchange for
are
not
they using any free
anything.
seats?
They're
Oh, we're not
using
getting anything for the free
significantly
seats.
fewer free seats than they used in the past. I think they have somewhere in the teens.
That should be part of the discussion, whether, like Kevin said, there's a value they were giving up, but what are we getting in return?
Why can't we offset this fee?
Well, we.
What's
yeah,
the
Well,
amount?
that's the discussion.
That would be
Yeah,
the
the
discussion.
discussion.
This is
With-
value, this
Yeah,
is
well, then
value.
We should be discussing it at the same time.
Yeah,
So if you're gonna discuss that, I'll attend.
okay.
That was my roundabout way of getting to that point.
I figured you were going there, I just didn't.
If you're just gonna talk about this, then I might not
Yeah.
attend, but if you're gonna talk about the bigger picture, I'm interested.
Okay.
Well, if you want 3, I may attend.
Okay. I
So we have
will-
people that would be interested, so
I will call
get with Ben and see what he
Ben
says.
Barton and
and-
see if we can set that up so we can get that going.
Okay.
But I do want the school and community to know that this is to ensure and protect that co-op agreement so our kids can still participate in wrestling right now especially.
Okay,
I don't want to infringe on that at all.
no. Okay, any other questions on it? Michael, you have anything?
I'm just I'm playing catch up.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'll direct my questions if I have any.
Okay. Just one.
Okay.
So, 2017, 2018 cheerleading request, football IE.
So we would like to bring football cheerleading back again next year, if it's okay with you. We felt like the season went really well. We received so many compliments from not only fans in the stands, but parents of football players, a couple of football players themselves. We received compliments from. We had people telling us they were so happy to have cheerleading back, that it wasn't football without cheerleaders, and we had really good compliments on Facebook. Some of the parents had posted pictures of the girls, and lots of thank you for all you do and for the spirit and everything. We did the homecoming pep fest for the elementary schools. The girls and Chris and I worked together to work out a schedule, and we performed that in front of the elementary school, and they loved it. Mr. Bartz came up to me afterwards and said, "Did the cheerleaders come up with that?" And I said yes, and he said it was the best pep fest we've ever had. So, we received a lot of positive feedback. We had somebody that came and stopped me in church one day and said, I bring people to the football games just to watch the cheerleaders because I enjoy it so much. So it just was really rewarding to us to have so many positive comments, And we brought a couple of girls here because we wanted them. I don't know if you guys want to say anything, or do you not want to say anything, or?
Sure. I mean, I know I'm sort of just one of the cheerleaders who were cheering, but I know that cheering for me really was happy, you know, and helped with public speaking and stuff. But, you know, I think that cheerleading back home really, I think it does bring a lot more to the football game because, you know, sometimes the football games can be like, oh, well, they're still passing the ball back and forth. But, you know, I feel that cheerleading can be a little bit more interesting if it gives the crowd a little bit something to do. But I think it's a really good interactive thing with the cheerleaders themselves because, like, when I signed up for cheerleading, my first thought was like, oh my gosh, we got cheerleading, that's awesome. And then I was like, well, this is going to look great on a college resume, you know, because I want to go into the entertainment. But, you know, I think it would not only be widening the horizons of the cheerleaders, but also the amount of entertainment provided at football games or other sports in the future.
So yeah, good job, Morgan. So we had 6 girls that,
Kate didn't want to say anything?
she didn't want to say anything. Morgan took all of her words, I guess.
I guess I could say that, like, before cheerleading, I didn't really know Morgan that well, or like Ashley or Michaela, and it helped me like become closer with more girls and I guess make more friends and stuff.
And that's one of the benefits I saw too. I mean, we had 8th graders working with 10th graders and 11th graders, and they just worked so well together. And you know, if somebody didn't get a jump, then somebody that knew it would help them out, and they just worked really well as a team. We did most of our summer practices in the summer because of the fact that some of the girls were out for volleyball and different things. So, and we didn't want to compete with that. So we did most of our practicing in the summer, and we had very dedicated girls that came and they worked hard to learn dances and the rouser and many cheers, and we really enjoyed our time together. And do you have anything you wanted to say? Corinne sent me a bunch of questions that she had received, and one of them was what were some unexpected challenges that we had. I guess our biggest unexpected challenge was just the lack of communication and miscommunication between just with the staff. That kind of was a problem, but since has been resolved. We also had issues with finding a place to practice because the schools were both being used in the summer, or they were inaccessible, we couldn't get in. We practiced in the park for a while, and then when it would rain or when it would get really hot, we had a lot of mosquitoes bites. But when it was raining or if it was too hot, we didn't have a spot to go to until Mr. Bart suggested that we went into the preschool. So then we started practices in the preschool. So that worked out well. So we've just had a few little things hiccups like that, where we're trying to figure out where are we doing our practices and when all the other sports have the gyms and things like that. So, but it's worked out, and I'm sure if we were to continue, it would, things would fall into place again. So, some of the benefits that is just that some of the girls, like Morgan came one night after school, and she and Ashley showed up to do locker signs for the boys football players' lockers, and because everybody else had commitments for volleyball or whatever, but they worked so hard, and they sat there, and it was 5:30, and I said, okay, I think you guys can go home and we can do these another night. They said, no, we don't have anything else to do. I remember that night.
It was great.
We love doing this, and we don't have anything else to do. So just giving kids an extra out to do something else, and be with other people and be with other friends. So that's one of the great benefits. And like we talked about, just the age range and getting them together, and bringing the spirit and excitement to football, and just the overwhelming support has been a great reward for us.
Mr. Chair, just to talk about the money, do we, is there a line, is that in the budget? Where does it come from?
Yeah, we had it, right, Gwen, in the budget. Yeah, I know we had the line items been in there, but.
One thing about the budget that's proposed up on the screen, typically uniforms are purchased on a 6-year cycle. So they got the uniforms last year, so they wouldn't be getting uniforms again for another 6 years, and I don't know if that was told to you.
No, that was not.
Okay. But then if somebody, if they've, of the uniforms that they have right now, if somebody is a new cheerleader that doesn't fit, and there's not a uniform in that size, then we would have to buy. They've just bought enough for the cheerleaders
We
for
just
last
bought
year.
enough for
Yeah.
the 6th.
So if they had more, then they would have to buy more uniforms. But I didn't want another coach to say, hold on, why are cheerleaders getting new uniforms every year? And so that's why I'm,
And the girls did, their parents and the girls did pay for, like, we bought jackets, and they bought their own jackets, and
We approved it for
they
1
bought their
year.
own spandex and things like that. So there were some things that they paid for out of pocket, just so that they could.
which
Yeah, this
the
is just. a
boys
second.
basketball buys their own
Right,
warm-ups.
right.
And so it's,
Right.
Yeah.
we're trying to be consistent.
Yeah.
We started last year with this, Kevin, and
Yeah.
then just to see how it would go, you know. so.
Was this the budget that you're currently operating under?
This is the budget that we, let's see, last year was $1,805.82. Is what that's what Gwen sent you, that was what our expenses were for starting it up. So this is just slightly more, just because, well, one of the things that I think the last budget, I didn't realize the coaching position was as much. I thought it was, I think, what did I say, like $400 less or something like that. The master agreement I was looking at on my computer must have been an old one, I'm not sure. So,
We could change that.
so that increased a little bit, but I think we just added maybe some more to the supplies, because, you know, we like the banner that they go through for the homecoming football game, you know, we probably would need to, you know, buy a big roll of paper and things like that, and so we were just kind of adding a little more to it for, and I think I might have added more to the travel, just in case if we would go to state.
Do you have more questions?
So you said that there was resolved issues of communication. Was that with coaches or teachers or with
Well,
AD or kind of
Yeah,
all of the
it
above?
just not having been a coach before, not knowing the rules of everything that goes on with coaching,
Right.
and not getting a handbook until the end of August, it was difficult for me to know what I was doing.
So
wrong.
who's your
So,
point person? Who do you talk to most? The principals or the athletic
Mostly
director?
Lisa.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that, you got that.
Yeah, and
that's-
it just, you know, it was just.
I'm not leaning on you. I'm thinking our administration should have probably reached out or let you know what was expected too.
Well, and that, you know, and that's just, and it is just one of those things that, having never coached before, I
Didn't know.
would do things and then I would find out, oh, no, you can't do it that way, you have to do it this way. But I didn't know that because I didn't have a handbook, and I, you know, should I have asked? Possibly, but I didn't know I was supposed to ask, kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's where the miscommunication was going, I guess.
Okay.
But it's since been resolved, so.
I've heard many times from my wife what a enriching experience cheerleading in Houston was for her, so I think it's a good idea.
Do you
I'm on
anticipate
peace at
more
home.
girls coming out or the
We
same?
have had a few, and, you know,
I know that some of the upperclassmen were a little bit afraid to do it the first year.
Yeah.
You know, like, I know I was talking to some of the current 9th graders, and they're like, yeah, I might do it maybe next year if it catches on or something. But-
yeah, we have had, we actually had one of the girls that came new this year into our school district wanted to start cheerleading. But unfortunately, since we had already practiced all summer, and it was in the end of August, I think she wanted to start, she started coming to our practices and kind of learning things and just kind of sitting and watching. But because, you know, we had already learned all the cheers and the first game was in a couple of weeks, we didn't feel like we could say, yeah, come in, we're going to teach you everything in 2 weeks. So, and then I also talked to Lisa about that, the athletic director, because I said, you know, we probably have to have a cutoff where we can't just accept everybody that wants to become a cheerleader at any time, because there's no way we could get them all caught up. Because in the past, when I was a cheerleader, you had tryouts, and, you know, and then once you were in it, you were in it, and then you had tryouts again the next year when people could come out again. But because this was our first year, we just kind of accepted everybody, and so we kind of felt bad not accepting her, but it was so late in the season to start, so. But yeah, we have had a few people that have said, you know, I'm interested, and there were some girls that were out this year that ended up quitting because of dance or because of, they wanted to focus more on grades, and they said, well, I want to do it next year, so. There have been a few kids that have come to me and said they're interested.
Do one thing quick. The coach's fee, is that on the
Master
appendix?
agreement.
It's- Okay.
It's appendix B.
Okay, and, you know, I was one who would ask questions about, for all these initiatives, that I think as a board member, I like to have some feedback like you offered from parents, from the participants, and from yourself in terms of accountability. So we got the budget thing, but I also would like to know that you're doing some, you know, seeking feedback, as you shared, both from parents and the girls and, you know, everybody who's part of that, so that we have that. So thanks for bringing that forward. And I guess would say I would ask for that again in the future, with not only with this, but with most things that we're, you know, approving and asking for how's it going and what's the feedback.
May I add something in support of, as a parent, a cheerleader, just something quick that I noticed that impressed me most about the cheerleading was watching some of the younger girls in the crowd, and how they took to the cheerleading, and then I think during one of the half times, the cheerleaders were out with the young girls, and following up on what Kevin said, I've seen a lot of leadership skills, and public speaking skills, like my daughter said, and I am watching the little girls, seeing that it did seem like having a very positive effect. And then the other thing I was thinking of listening to you talking was, you know, what you were saying, offering a broad range of sports, making sure that there's something, if kids are interested in something, that it's available. I feel like cheerleading is just another positive aspect towards the school spirit and skills to contribute to that. And if we have somebody willing to head up the team, I felt like it was a real positive first season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
Okay.
No, thank you for doing it, and thank you girls for being a part of it.
Yeah. I thought it was fun having you out there.
Good, it's all good.
Even though I was on the other side of the field, it was still fun.
And we watched the cheerleaders on the other side. What they're doing over there.
So,
Okay, so this will be as an old item, or old business for discussion and approval.
right. Thanks again. Appreciate all the work you
Thank
put
you.
into it. So at this time, because we're kind of running a little bit behind, we have to adjourn for the World's Best Workforce hearing, public hearing.
Okay?
Move to adjourn.
Okay. Second by Kevin.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Ron,
Sorry.
second by Kevin. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so,
Okay? Do you have the PowerPoint? This PowerPoint is still the,
oh, we're going into a World's Best Workforce?
no.
Okay.
That's really lovely.
This will be short, I think.
Yeah.
I think we have.
Just make sure I'm observing proper protocol to close meeting
Here.
We want
Anyway.
the,
We'll let you know when you have to
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah, throw them out if I need to.
No. Okay, with World's Best Workforce, the PowerPoint we're going to see is actually still from 2015, and since it was a PDF, it wouldn't let me update it. So as we're flipping through this is from MDE. Okay. As we click through, This is our annual report that is mandated. It is based on statute. We need to make sure that every child is ready for kindergarten, that all of our third graders are reading at grade level. We need to close the achievement gaps from all our disaggregate groups. We need to make sure that students are career and college ready, starting at the earliest grades. And we need to make sure that by the time they have matriculated to their senior year, they graduate on time with their four-year cohort. We have MDE guidance. In fact, we have been asked to show this lovely PowerPoint to you as their guidance. Okay? Lovely. Yes. The plan has been developed and continues to be a topic of a great deal of discussion, especially every other Monday. I have principal meetings, and the principals and I are constantly talking about, okay, what are we doing? How do we know it? Are we really moving the student body toward that goal of being career and college ready? In our district advisory meeting, we talked about, okay, what does that really mean? And we need to do more outreach with the community. What does it really look like for a student to be career and college ready at graduation? What do the community members expect to see? What do the business owners, what do the employers expect to see in a student who truly is career and college ready? And so we know we need to do a better job of gathering that information. As we gather that information, that will help drive us to really develop those strategies or look for those strategies to improve what we're doing so we get to that end goal. Okay. The District Advisory Committee right now is made up of mainly staff. We're having a tough time getting community members. Mike Beckman, bless his heart, is hanging in there with us. We've got 2 board members, but it's really, we need to do a better job of outreach. We need to do a better job to, if a community member, if we can't get more community members on the committee, at least to get out in the community more to gather more information. And that's what brings us to stakeholder engagement. The students, we need to get a student who's willing to serve. We need to get input from the community as far as, we had the goals and we adopted goals in June for the upcoming year. And really looking at making this a 5-year plan and having those long-term goals to make sure that we are checking to see that we have made those incremental steps to really get where we want to go. And so here's our annual meeting, and hopefully we'll get some valuable stakeholder input. And that's the summary of annual report. This is the slide I really wanted to change. It's due December 15th, 2016. So pay no attention to the man on the screen. With our process, we are right now holding the annual meeting. The annual report will be published to the website after this meeting. And after we get stakeholder input. So if somebody's watching online and wants to fill out the feedback form on our website, you can go to Houston, www.houston.k12.mm.us, and the feedback link is right on the left side, and you can provide feedback to us, and that is input on the plan as well. And then there's a summary that has been done. This is the timeline. We had the summer meeting, and that's where we really looked at the goals for this upcoming year. The annual report, that's now The staff development report is now part of the World's Best Workforce report that needs to be posted by December 15th. And we need to, that throughout the year, Diamond, we need to get better at that. Because this is a continuous improvement cycle. And so we just keep coming around that circle again and seeing what we did and looking at how to improve it. The commissioner or assistant commissioners will review our plan. I have made sure that in the summary report that goes to the commissioner, I have kept all the narratives that must be under 200 words to under 200 words, because last year that was the only feedback we received, was that on one of our blurbs, we went to 203 words. So I have kept them to 200 or fewer words. I'm hoping the commissioner heard from those of us at a superintendent's meeting. This last spring, when we got our results back, that we really wanted feedback. We wanted legitimate feedback on what we had presented. We wanted legitimate feedback on our reports, other than whether or not we hit the 200-word maximum limit. And that's collectively, that's about all anyone heard. And I think it was just a case where they got so many of these in, they didn't quite know how to wade through them. So they tried to turn it into something that was as objective as possible. But there's a lot of subjective within these reports. So I'm hoping that she listened and really heard that we do want to improve. We do want to embrace the ideas and the tenet of that statute language, that we are really working at producing the next crop of employees, the next crop of bosses, the next crop of people that are going to lead our nation. And we want to know, are we doing okay? We don't mind that accountability. In fact, we would embrace it, but it's got to be accountability that actually has some weight to what we're doing. And so, once again, that's December 15th. All districts are using the same template. And we use the rubric that was provided, so I'm sure that we're following all of those. There are new, you can go to the next slide. There are new requirements by statute, and so we are making sure that those are getting included in the report as well. Because every year, the legislature seems to be kind of morphing with this as well. We're not sure what's going to happen when the World's Best Workforce has to mesh with the Every Student Succeeds Act. Right now, World's Best Workforce was aligned to No Child Left Behind. And so now as we change to Every Student Succeeds, they're going to have to keep tweaking the statute requirements to make sure it now aligns to that new legislation. So we need to make sure that everything we're doing is student-centered. Well, I would hope that as a school district, that's where we are anyway. And we have used these, the 2017 goals. And then once again, I'm not sure what's going to happen in 2018, because that will now be under the Every Student Succeeds. No Child Left Behind sunsets in 2017. That's where you see 2017 with all of those. Not a problem. And so this is in the summary report. that we have done.
I'm sorry.
No. And then if you have any contact, you can look on their sheets. They've got some updated on the World's Best Workforce page of the MDE work website, mainly the statute changes. And the district advisory committee was given all of those. Okay, so to go through the annual report, and you can just do the summary report. No, the summary report.
Oh. It's not here. Okay.
Okay. And the summary report is a template that summary, right, Houston Public School, there. Okay. So we will provide a link to the annual report as soon as the World's Best Workforce report is done here. And then we've got the annual meeting is tonight at the Houston High School Library. We've got the listing of the district advisory committee members. You'll notice with the numbers after them, these are the members of the committee for the 2015-16 school year. The numbers and some of the people will have to change going forward. For example, Jason Carrier is still a teacher, but he's no longer in the online world. So we need to make sure we've got an online teacher. Shelley Jervis is no longer at Summit Learning Center, so we need to get someone from Summit Learning Center. Todd Lundberg tearfully is no longer a parent of a child, and so he has to lose.
Enrolled in the school.
What?
He's no longer a parent of a child enrolled in the school.
Oh, enrolled in the school, yes, he still has 4 children who are alive and well, but none of them are students here anymore. And he's wishing that his baby was still in school, but that we've got to take the 6 away from him next year. So we need to make sure that this gets reconfigured so that we have all the numbers that we need, so all that disaggregate group is represented at the table. With the first goal with kindergarten, all the students at Houston Elementary School were screened with the early screening inventory. Where we would like to expand this going forward is to make sure that all of the students at MNBA also have a way to be screened or referred to services as soon as they enroll. And so we're researching that and logistically going through the screening inventories that would be appropriate for that. And we're looking at that early screening inventory here to see if that's the best one going forward. With literacy, we did not meet our 3rd grade literacy. Now granted, the goal that we had here was that 100% would read at or above grade level, which is an incredibly lofty goal. And we did not hit that at all. However, we also know that we need to hit the literacy goal in grade 3, we need to do more work with literacy in grade 2 and grade 1 because literacy is really a building block. So that's one where we tried different strategies, we tried different interventions, and we know that it did not hit the mark. So that's one where we're doing a lot of, and it's also one of the reasons why with QComp, our focus is on reading this year. Here with the closing the achievement gap, that our reading declined, but we will need to close that gap. And there's more about this later, that's why I'm not saying as much. We had a goal about being career and college ready, making sure that everyone had a very robust personal learning plan. And so we got that done, and just the logistics of getting it done at MNVA with the technology that we had and the different systems proved to be a bit of a hurdle. But we did succeed in that, and really the homeroom seems to be working better. But as is always the case with change, there's the learning curve that goes with it. With the students graduate, Houston High School had 100%, and MNVA declined. However, their percent graduating declined, but the percent carrying over to be a super senior, so that if we looked at the 5-year cohort or the 6-year cohort, where it took them an extra year or two to graduate, that graduation rate actually increased. So with Minnesota Virtual, we've talked before about the graduation rate, we have to remember that we take in a lot of kids who are woefully behind credits by the time they're juniors and seniors. And so we, in talking about that, we know that our graduation rate for Minnesota Virtual Academy for that 4-year cohort will probably take a hit, but where we want to really decrease the percent is in the dropout. So if we can save them from dropping out, and we can help them to actually get that high school diploma, maybe not at the end of their 4th year of high school, but at the end of their 5th or 6th, then I feel good about what we're doing, and I'm okay living with a less than stellar graduation rate. But I need to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to get them to graduate in 4 years, if possible, or 5. If it takes 6, we do have some seniors that come to us significantly credit deficient, where we've had a couple seniors that will come to us with 10 credits, and it takes 48 to graduate. So that's a case where we first have to look to see if they physically can. We're not a credit recovery, so can they physically and successfully complete the necessary credits before they turn 21?
And you can't drop them back grade levels.
That's, we talked about it a couple years ago.
We talked about that.
Trying to figure out a way of, because this has always hit us, this MNBA part of it, and we've talked about, because we're accepting students from other school districts that were let go, or they left because they were behind.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know why or how come.
And then they end up in a band that's.
Yeah.
Well, they're forced to go into a level where they're not
that's
ready
right.
for it.
Yeah, and what we don't understand is, why can't we take them and say, okay, you're not 9th grade ready, you're more of an 8th grader, and I'm just using it as an example, why can't we bring them in at an 8th grade level, just as if they were supposed to be held back before? I mean, I know we're in this school system that is, well, just because you can't be at your grade level, we're gonna maintain you there for looks, is what instead of, it's not doing the kid any good, the child.
Every student has a MARS number, and so there is that record, that enrollment record in a Minnesota school. As soon as they have hit 9th grade, they have their 4-year cohort defined. And so if they were a 9th grader in Edina last year, we have to put them as a sophomore.
Yeah, but again, it's the state, to me, that's an error in their fault. I mean, that's not right, because if we're bringing them in and they don't qualify for being a 10th grader, and why would Edina or whatever that prior school, why would they allow that to happen? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about students.
Yes,
We're talking about kids that aren't ready to move on. You need to hold them back and give them the proper education so they are ready to move on and be more successful, instead of just pushing them forward.
because
really, to
Lamar's
me, is
number is
under-
tied to the four-year cohort.
But they need to fix that. I mean, I don't know, you know,
Yeah.
I
Well,
know it's
there are
money,
problems
Kevin,
on the
but,
other, I mean, it's a bigger topic. than-
yeah, anyway.
I mean, but I appreciate that you're addressing it from the standpoint of, you know, given the enrollment we have and the population we get, to look at the super seniors and look at what we are able to do positively for that group.
You're right,
is
Marlene. I mean, we're helping these students
Right.
achieve something.
If
even
they
it
stay in
does-
school,
Right.
if they stay in and complete.
Yeah, and that's the main focus, is to make sure they complete. I mean, I just think this state needs to get there on that part of it, but.
Well, and it's just because they want to tie things to graduation rates, they needed to clearly define what the four-year cohort is. And so therefore, it is defined by as soon as a person enters their first day of ninth grade.
That's- I mean, that's
The
fine.
clock is ticking.
But like you said, we as a school board have to, I did not know that that's what's happening, and we've
Mhm.
accepted it, so.
And
But we
it's,
still can complain about it.
okay, we're not going to change that one.
What's the "we"? I mean.
Okay, fine.
It's like it's all coming from-
I can still complain about it. How's that, Kevin? Anyway, sorry,
In
Chris.
looking at the disaggregate groups, even though the scores went down overall in math and reading, up in science, but they went down overall in math and reading, in looking at that, in looking at our disaggregate groups, and looking at those disaggregate groups that are here in our district as compared to those same disaggregate groups around the state, our disaggregate groups, as far as as long as we're not looking at the white non-Hispanic group, when we're looking at the black group, the Native American, the Asian Island Pacific group, the Hispanic group, our disaggregate groups, the free and reduced price lunch, the special ed, our disaggregate groups, as compared to their counterparts around the state, really did okay or better, in some cases significantly better. Unfortunately, when you look at our white non-Hispanic group compared to the other white non-Hispanic kids around the state, they didn't do well. And so when you've got your largest disaggregate group being the one that's kind of stumbling, you see some sizable achievement gaps.
But it closes the gap based on.
Our disaggregate groups, as far as, the only one that widened really within the district was the free and reduced price lunch group. That one widened a bit. But still, as looking at that group as compared to the state, our kids are doing as well or better than that same disaggregate group around the state. But, so we individually are doing a good job of shrinking our achievement gap, but in the process, the white group, which accounts for about 85% of our population, is declining, and that's not acceptable. Having any group decline is not acceptable in my estimation.
Better to bring the bottom up and keep everybody up and bring the whole bunch up, not
Right.
close the gap by bringing everybody down.
And that's how we closed the gap. We
Yeah.
were closing the gap by bringing a
bring
group
the
down,
big-
and I would rather say,
Yeah.
this is the bar, let's get to it, instead of let's just reduce the bar. Okay, this is strategies. Now, these strategies are for the 15-16 school year. Going forward, for the students, it will change in this next year. You will see a totally different narrative here. We are no longer using Scantron. We're no longer using NWA MAP. We're no longer using AimsWeb. We're using FastBridge for all of those components. And so this is a little scary this year because we're coming up with new benchmarks. Going with the teachers and principals, the TD&E plan, Teacher Development and Evaluation Plan, is really going very well. In fact, this year, We are in the process of using Danielson's new rubrics that were designed specifically for online education and online instruction. And so we're hoping that that really provides a great deal of insight and usable feedback, because feedback is really just words until you put them to action.
So is the rubric different for the online, people working in the online world from working in person?
Yes, as far as.
So it's two different rubrics under Danielson, depending on what site you're.
Right, and special education has their own rubrics.
Okay.
And counselors have their own rubrics, so those descriptors for what a really exemplary classroom looks like will be specific to the way that instruction is given.
Okay.
So we were excited the teachers were excited to finally feel like they had a rubric that fit.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, in the online world, you feel like a square peg. And you're trying to make what you're doing fit in what is a traditional instructional mode, and it just doesn't quite fit. So it's nice to know that we finally have those people that are creating these rubrics looking at the fact that the face of education is changing. The form of education is changing. But no matter how the change is occurring, we still want to look for excellence. We still want to be doing an exemplary job. So with looking at the reading achievement and that reading goal, we have 25 teachers here in Houston District taking graduate level courses. And of those 25 teachers, they took 46 courses overall. So several of them were taking 2. They're involved in master's classes. And 44 of those addressed reading or writing, some form of research and evaluating text as far as the validity in an online world. The 2 courses that did not address reading or writing or research of some type were courses taken by our industrial tech teacher to make sure he had the portfolio he needed to get his license. And so it dealt with, I think, small engines. But the last time I saw a light come on my dash, there was some reading required to figure out what the heck that little Lego helicopter was. So, this has been added this year. This was not in last year's. We had to, as a district, we have to guarantee that we have a process to make sure that all of our students are taught by highly qualified teachers, that we are not giving the low income or the minority children teachers that are not teaching at the same level as the teachers that are assigned to the more academically, or the more, not academic, but financially,
How would you even do that? I mean, if a district were to want to, for some reason, not educate the poorer kids and give them better, how would you do that? I mean, maybe, I don't know, I just.
It comes to play more in large districts that have multiple high schools or multiple middle schools within the district. And usually middle schools and elementary schools specifically are neighborhood schools. I know that Rochester has had to do a lot with this component to make sure that their neighborhood schools are staffed equitably. Because the more senior teachers tend to want to teach in their own little neighborhood school.
So it's seniority that makes you the better teacher?
Nope, not necessarily. Not necessarily at
No,
all.
not necessarily at all, yes,
Right.
I would agree. Okay.
But it's one of those things where you've got to look at seniority, because a lot of times the new teachers coming out are the ones that tend to have more of the classroom management issues. And if you've got a classroom management issue, you're not going to get the same level of understanding with the kids. And you also have to look at the ability of the teacher to really grasp and then convey the subject matter. And that we do with our teacher development evaluation plan and the observations and the evaluations. And so we are sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that the teachers are proficient. And we did have one teacher last year who was deemed not proficient. It was a non-tenured teacher, and that teacher was not renewed at the end of the year. Nor would that teacher was told that she would not be called back this year either. Are there any questions?
You cleared them up with.
Well,
Other than,
We've cleared
other
the
than
room.
the press, I cleared out everyone else in the room.
Anybody have any questions?
Now we can really do some nasty stuff, nobody's here.
Yeah.
We're still on
Well-
film.
I would just like to say, hoping that we're going to get some relevant feedback from MDE in light of ESSA is unlikely. But I don't think that means that, I'm serious, right?
Yeah.
So I think, though, that we can use this tool in-district and in-house to make it something worthwhile or not. We can say we're doing this, we're not going to go through this, it takes time and energy. But I have been working on it, so I'm invested in it. I think it has value. I think it has value to draw in the community and to look for feedback. I think we need to try better to do that. I don't know if that means at parent-teacher conferences, trying to make some sort of targeted thing that would get at some of the information we're looking for from parents and stakeholders.
Mhm.
To invite it that way, we might be more likely to get some information that we can include or we can make use of. That takes effort, so I don't know who on district advisory or staff development or who has time or could be charged with that, but it's an idea to get some feedback.
And Mike Beckman, as a member of the district advisory committee, is very willing and really seems eager to go to chamber and talk to the chamber about what things as chamber members they want to see and start really bringing those ideas back. What things the chamber would like to see as far as what skills and abilities do they need to have with the students coming out of high school or even the students in high school. We've got a lot of teenagers working in the community. Do they have the skills and abilities that they need to be competent workers? If not, what can we do to help get them ready for that?
I would just finally, I don't want, obviously we've spent enough time on this probably, but you had talked about working with Perkins grant money to try and use AccuPlacer, no.
Yes.
Yeah, in order to ensure that our students leaving here might not have to take remedial classes if they go to a community and technical college. There was recently just a report out about the woeful percentage of students enrolling in community and technical colleges that find themselves in remedial classes at that level, and how unsuccessful that is at helping students complete a 2-year degree. So that gets into us taking this document and this idea and trying to do more of what you're trying to do. And whether that's in the report or whether we're doing that as part of what you would do, it's good to have an opportunity to say, what are we doing? What is that career and college ready student, and how are we keeping the pulse of that? So,
And they're doing the AccuPlacer in math and in reading.
And I
we're
think that's a
looking-
very
We're
good-
charting ACT scores, because if they get the ACT cut score necessary, then they don't have to do remedial. If they get the AccuPlacer cut score, they don't have to do remedial courses. Or if we've got articulated courses, granted, for that articulated course, to qualify for entry into a college level math or English class, the only articulation agreement we have is with Southeast Tech. And so they would have to go to Southeast Tech for that articulation agreement to be active. However, it's my goal that if that articulation agreement is solidly written, if they truly have the skills and abilities to articulate it at Southeast Tech, they should be able to function at that same level at any school within the MnSCU system.
When did they take that AccuPlacer now?
They take it in the fall. Lee Wendell helps with that.
The fall of their senior year?
Fall of their, actually, it's the fall of their junior year, and then they take it again the spring of their junior year. And if they hit the score, that score is good for 2 years. If they don't hit it, then they know that their senior year, they need to take one of the articulated courses to ensure that they have hit the...
So they are taking it early enough so you can get them into the program?
Absolutely. It's kind of the AccuPlacer is only good for 2 years, so we want to make sure that we're not taking it so early
Sure.
that
Yeah, they can't use it.
they can't use it, but we also want to make sure that we're taking it early enough that we can remediate if there's a problem.
Right.
It's been really fascinating looking at the scores and looking at Hannah Bauman, who was here last year as a math teacher, did a lot of work to get that in place.
Any other questions? Thanks for your questions, Michael. Ron?
Okay.
Okay, so
We can,
do we have a motion to reconvene to regular school board member?
do we have to adjourn this hearing?
Well, I'll move to adjourn.
Yeah,
I'll
adjourn. Okay, second. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah.
Move to reconvene.
Second.
Motion made by Ron, second by Gary. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Go back up to facility updates.
it's,
Sorry.
I'm killing everybody tonight.
Good luck to you.
Thank you. The final items are getting done. I just want everyone to be aware that December 8th at 11 a.m., we're having the closeout meeting. And by the closeout meeting, that means that all the documents and the manuals will be here, that we will sign off on all of those, so we will have the binders of how to maintain all of the equipment that's been put in.
But will we have a separate maintenance plan?
Yes.
Not just binders,
No,
not
yep.
just owner's manual?
Right, the month-by-month plan is getting done, looking at these binders, looking at the materials.
Okay.
There's a couple things that won't be done by December 8th. And mainly it's because they were done, but they were not done up to the level of quality that Chris Culseth thought they should be done. And so that's the small section of flooring upstairs in the elementary school. They did it, and Chris said this isn't good enough, so they're going to come in over Christmas break and redo the flooring where they took out one of the univents. And then with some of the software items, with Winona Heat and Vent, Chris said they didn't quite use the level of software that we had in the bid, and so they're being, they need to use the software we have in the bid. So,
But he caught that.
he caught it, yeah. No, they're going through absolutely everything with a fine tooth comb, because they said they don't do a closeout meeting unless they're sure that things are really closed out. They don't leave any loose ends. So,
I don't know why this is about one of the only things I remember about this, the whole project, the bleachers, the reset on the bleachers, is that part of this too, or is that a
That's
separate?
that got done.
Oh, it did, okay.
Yeah,
It was on the list that got done a
bleachers-
couple weeks ago.
Yep, so the bleachers have been
Okay.
reset.
Yeah.
There's, I mean, to the point where when they were putting in the little sections of carpet, they slopped some carpet glue on some of the pipes. And Chris said, no, not good enough. That has to come off. And so all trades will have to come in
It's
and
good that they're looking out for us.
they are,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
There were a few things missed, so there
Yeah.
was. Makeup calls.
yeah.
And also, it's on Monday when Chris was here, one of the room sensors here in the high school flaked out. And it was not reading, it was reading it in metric, except the controls in the computer was still trying to read Fahrenheit. So it said 31 degrees on the thermostat, except it was clicking out about 90-degree heat out of the register, because the computer said, ooh, 31 degrees, that's really cold. I need to put in heat. And the thermostat was like, geez, Louise, it's really hot in here, because it was in. So Chris was here and he called up to Winona Controls and they said, oh, yep, override got clicked. And so they just fixed it, and within minutes, the temperature in the room was falling. And so it's just knowing that with the recommission in this building, it's working that well, because before, had we had that issue, it would have taken a day to get it, for calling and saying, hey, what's going on? And now, it's one phone call, it's done. It's nice,
Let's just hope it stays like that.
yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Okay.
That'll be ongoing as far as, you know, we can always.
Well, remember the contract we signed with UNESCO, I think was a 10-year.
Mhm.
So, whether you like it or not, they've got us.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, old business, items for discussion and approval. Staff development plan.
Motion to approve the staff development plan as presented.
Okay, we've got a motion by Mike.
Second.
Second by Ron, discussion.
Just as a reminder, we did look at this, it was introduced last meeting.
Mhm.
Opportunity to look at it, and statute requires you to do a separate one. Will it be part of the world's best workforce in the future, or unknown?
It was supposed to be already, it didn't get changed in the statutes. So that's why there's a couple things that didn't get changed in the statutes.
That might.
That might. The staff development plan is still separate, but the report is now part of the World's Best Workforce
Oh,
Plan.
that's what I was confused. Okay.
QComp is supposed to know, the reporting is supposed to be part of the World's Best Workforce. It's not yet. And there are some other things that are supposed to be rolled into, the literacy is supposed to get rolled into the World's Best Workforce. It's not yet. However, we addressed literacy in the World's Best Workforce Plan, but the report is still separate, even though we report on it in both places.
I'm glad you're keeping track of this.
I'm trying.
In this discussion, we also, if we meet more on the correct timeline, we'll try to do a better job. This is an unbelievably weighty set of goals that our staff has tried to come up with to fit into our district goals. So if we meet more frequently, hopefully the next staff development plan will feel a little more doable. A little-
In putting this together, it's absolutely utterly overwhelming. There's just no way they can do it all.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it is what we adopted.
Yeah.
And we'll make it happen. Right, Michael?
We adopted it in pieces,
Yeah.
That was the
and,
problem.
yep, and now looking at it all in its entirety,
Okay. Overwhelming.
yeah.
Any further discussion? So we have a motion, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Policies for second reading.
Move to approve 304 and 306.
Okay, we have a motion. We got a second by Michaeline. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. New business, item for discussion and approval. We've got canvass the votes of November 2016 school board election.
We don't have enough people to sign anymore. Oh, no, we have to all sign on that, right?
Right. And so first, there's Josh Norleen with 1,116, Mike Bonner with 1,123, Mimi Carlson with 898, which is a palindrome. In case you wondering. As far as the write-ins, there wasn't anyone that got, of the 68, it's a very diverse smattering.
I noticed. Did you?
So if anybody wanted to look at them,
Pretty interesting.
they could.
They voted for people currently sitting on the board.
Yes, yes.
Mhm. I think
Joe and Ron
Joe
both
and Ron got votes.
Right.
Kevin got, well, Kevin's going off. but-
Kevin got a vote. We have,
Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, any of those people?
they said that they didn't put any fictitious names, but there was one fictitious name that went through that I don't think they realized that it was fictitious. So I will just let you, I don't think we need that as part of our minutes.
So how do we have to approve these? Can we canvass them all at once, or do they have to be individually?
No, we canvassed them all. We have canvassed, and so it's canvassing the returns. That's why I'm saying if you want to see who received write-ins, you certainly may before we canvass them. And so what we need to do is a motion to certify that you've canvassed the returns of the state general election held on Tuesday, November 8th, and have specified the names of any candidates receiving votes and the number of votes received by each candidate, and specified the number of votes for and against any ballot questions. And we
I have
didn't
a
have any.
question.
Yes.
I'm assuming I'd have to excuse myself from the vote, which means there are less than a quorum to vote.
You can canvass them.
Okay.
In this case, you will have to.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah,
not some of my
because we
my
have
question. That's
to,
my
we have to
question.
canvass it.
Okay.
That's fine.
The fact that you're here, though, makes a quorum, even if you don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then I can that's
And
fine.
and it has to be that way because the last time with the election, with a 7-member board and 4 of the members up for election, there's no way you could get a quorum.
Well, no, but Ron is saying the quorum is
Yeah.
because we're sitting here.
Yeah.
But I still probably shouldn't vote
For yourself?
for myself. Doesn't matter. We've got a quorum, so I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good, just not make it.
We'll check with the parliamentarians.
Yes.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay, so do we?
so do we have a motion?
Mhm.
Move.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Ron. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'll
Opposed?
abstain.
Okay.
Okay.
If you would sign that sheet that Frank has to, that would be helpful.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, we're done with that, correct?
Yep.
So we can keep moving while we sign. Announcements? Point events, MSBA Leadership Conference, January 12th, 13th, and you talked to the new member of the board about the phase one, correct, Kim?
Yes. Phase 1. There is also Phase 1 on December 8th in Rochester.
Oh, did you talk to him about going to that?
And that's a Thursday night, and that would be easier for him than, because he's if we're going to do the 11th, or the 10th, 11th. Phase 1 is the evening of the 10th, and then Phase 2 is the 11th. And then if we wanted to do the leadership conference too, that's 4 days, and that seems to be too much of a burden for anyone, and I don't think I can be out of the office that long either. So,
Okay. So do we have people going, and what days, do we know?
I don't know if we have anyone going yet. I would like to go on the 12th and the 13th. It looks to be a very good, Ellen Page will be there on the 13th.
No, well, then I have to go. I'm just saying. It's on page, man, I only made them once before.
Okay. The other thing is, so if you look at your schedule and you can go on the 12th and or 13th, please let Ann know in the office.
Ron, you gonna go?
Yes.
Ron will go, I'll go. Gary? Michael Lane?
I'm tentatively gonna go.
You gonna stay with us at the facilities?
I don't know. You guys are so rowdy out there.
Come on, really? We kept it down to a minor roar.
So you're gonna do the base?
Yeah, I'll call and see.
Keep me
We only,
posted.
yeah. I'll try to call him tomorrow and check.
And my head of school meeting is the November 28th through December 1st, so it doesn't butt up against this anymore, which is good. Legislative forum is February 4th. I am hoping that our recently elected representative and senator will actually show up this year. That'd be good.
Okay.
Has he ever been to one?
Jeremy Miller has. I have not seen Greg Davids there yet.
Okay, so meeting and committee updates. You had your policy.
Policy
correct?
committee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we looked over a number of other policies regarding having somebody or having a facility name for somebody. And what we find in the policy is that all of a sudden this got more involved than just this one thing, you know. You have the naming of facilities, you have people that may want to donate a large sum of money and have a facility named for them. We talked about the fact that people give memorials and how to deal with somebody puts in a bench or a tree or something like that. And so I think what we're doing right now is we're going to look over some of these other policies and pick out things, and then we'll have another meeting and kind of try to outline these things. There was a lot of good discussion on the whys and why nots of all of these things.
Who attended? Who was at the meeting?
Todd and Rick and Karen and myself.
And the policies you're referring to, or what policies?
The policy, what's the number again?
Like 808.
Edina's 808, Rushford is unnumbered as of yet. They're still talking about ratifying it, but however, it took a lot of things verbatim from Edina's 808. Then there was Lake Superior from Wisconsin that also has policy and procedures, and they're all in SharePoint.
Okay, in where?
The policy.
Okay, so this is not an MSBA model policy, it's a policy written by districts that have grappled with this topic?
Right. because there is no, I could
That's what
not,
I'm-
I could not find a model MSBA policy on naming rights.
Some of the other issues are like, how long is it good for, you know, a name and what were some of the other things?
Upkeep,
Yeah.
if you're going to donate something, do we need to make sure that there's some way that we've got, if it falls into disrepair, does the school have to maintain it? Does there need to be part of a donation to keep the maintenance of that item?
Who would be eligible to be named or
Right.
something?
So we looked at what other, there are some districts that have like past practice but don't have a policy written down.
One says, you know, we'll take, if they give money, we'll take them. That's their policy.
But it had to be a sizable amount.
Yeah,
If it was $250,000, they'd take it and you can slap your name on it.
So I mean, I think this policy discussion sounds good, it sounds like what we need to be doing, but with regard to the fact we had community members here on behalf of making a request, maybe, I don't know what we say back to those folks. Is there some way to have any accounting of how much money Mr. Erke's activities for the athletic boosters brought to the athletic program? Is there any accounting of that? Because well, regardless of the policy, if there are numbers on it, we'll need to.
Yeah. But that's almost like a separate thing, too. You know, you could name somebody and
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily have to have a monetary amount. for
Okay,
a
right.
person.
So, all right.
Because the two parts of the policy that need to be addressed, and that's one of the things that came up in the conversation, is it's naming for a contribution or naming for recognition of service.
Okay.
And so it's a two-prong in the policy.
I'm just remembering what was brought forward in the
Right.
public comments at the last.
Right, and it's also, we need to make sure that we have some things that have kind of wiggled in. And we do have some things named in honor of people. We had a tree planted, named in honor of someone. It died, it was pulled out. There are still people upset that the school didn't replace the tree.
Okay.
And so we need to address
Those kids.
all of those things to make sure that we are looking at what's been done and not coming out saying, well, that's wrong, but also not saying, well, that's what we did before, so that's what we have to do now going forward.
Okay.
We have to really look at what's best for us and the community, because these are things that impact everyone.
Right.
But there's a lot of good info in some of those
Policies.
other
I'll take a look at it.
policies, and it gives us a chance to kind of pick and choose out things and come up with a good one for us.
So another policy committee meeting and a draft that will be
Yeah.
presented to the board?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Corinne had written down some tentative things for a draft, so.
Okay.
So more to come.
Welcome.
Perfect.
And I guess we didn't really set another policy committee, but
It will need, I know that finance will have to take the slot to meet prior to the December 20th meeting.
That was one of my questions,
Yep,
to get a finance
And-
committee meeting in.
right.
And maybe a facility meeting
The
of
well,
sometime. I don't know if we do want to do it before this 8th of December.
right,
or-
December 8th is the closeout, but we do need another facility meeting to really plan that. So right now, we don't have a committee meeting on December 6th, but it doesn't make sense for facilities to meet 2 days before the
Well, we
closeout
can meet
meeting.
before that, at the end of the, Gary, I know what day works for you. I mean, if we had a chance before, before the end of this month, for a facility meeting, just for,
do you think we should have another policy committee meeting on the 6th?
It's open for it.
I would like to be part of policy committee meetings, and Tuesdays and Thursdays are impossible for me.
Okay,
How about after the meeting?
After the meeting is fine.
okay.
Let's do that.
Okay,
That's not a problem.
okay. So we can
Speaking
have,
of meetings, you weren't here for that.
I was
beginning
gonna ask that on the last
discussion.
item here. I was gonna
Me.
ask what the conversation was.
Conversation, we kind of went to look at either moving the meetings to 6:30 at night on Tuesday, if that's more convenient. You know, because some of the questions came up, you had made some changes next semester to make Tuesday work, but then the new member asked about having it maybe later because.
Oh, I
of
thought
timeline.
he wanted a different day.
he was talking about, he said Thursday would be better too.
Yeah,
So
he said Thursday would be better,
But
but
he
the
can make
question was.
Tuesday work.
And that's when we said, well, what if we had it later? Because, you know, we moved it to 6 because Joe's got fired, but now that's been changed to Wednesday, so we could have it at 6:30 if that would work for him, because that may be his concern of getting here in time, being that you had already did some adjusting for this first semester, just conversation to try to accommodate
Well,
everybody.
I had mentioned to Corinne, I mean, Tuesdays, next semester, Monday and Wednesday nights are out for me, so I was disheartened to learn that we might move the meetings to Mondays, which would have taken me out for 3 months, but.
We don't want to do that.
And in
No,
looking
you
at
probably
Mondays.
do, but.
No, in looking at Mondays.
Tuesday's
we would
fine,
have
if
to-
it's later, it's fine.
Why don't we ask him and see if that'll work? Like I
Okay.
said,
We
either
don't
you or I
set-
can give him a call and find out.
When do we set the calendar? In
At the
January,
organizational meeting.
except for the organizational meeting, right?
Right. And so that's why I wanted to get your input before I presented times and dates at that meeting, because I don't want to assume that just what we've been doing is what you want to
So
do.
Tuesday would work for you, and
Yeah.
later wouldn't matter, okay. The only person we'd have to talk to would be maybe Joe and the new board member, just get I want to get everybody's input, so that's fair. So, okay. And then we'll set up
The only
policy.
problem I see with going later is if, and that might affect Mimi as far as if her kids are in sports or something, they have games and.
But she had originally wanted it later, and we wouldn't move it later because we
Mhm.
needed it earlier because Joe had a conflict.
Right.
So, did you check with Mimi?
She was here, she said
Okay.
that would be fine.
Okay.
She didn't say anything. So, I didn't pick up anything, did you?
No.
Anybody? And then, so you guys can have a policy committee meeting on the 6th?
After the board meeting.
After the board meeting, and Gary and I should have a facility meeting before the 8th.
Or should we have it after the 8th?
That's,
Because it's at 11 in the morning. Can you guys actually come to that closeout meeting?
I don't know, I had to look.
So
What day is
we-
the 8th?
The 8th is a Thursday. We could have it when you could, we could have a facility meeting that night.
Yeah, I mean,
After-
if the guy's gonna stay, because I think I would personally, I don't know about you, Gary, it'd be nice to have them guys here if we had questions for them. You know what I mean? And if they're gonna be here for that. I
They're
mean,
gonna-
if we had to try to get here at 11 for that, I could try, but I
Okay.
can't guarantee it. It would be more convenient if they could stay till we got here, whether it be 5:30,
Yeah, that's probably not an option.
you know?
It's a long day.
Yeah, I just thought,
What about the night before? Do they come down, or do they come down the day of?
That's why it's 11, so they can come down the day of.
you wanna do it after that evening? then, if we-
Why don't you take a lunch break and Skype in
Hmm.
or something?
I
Yeah,
can
you-
see if I could
I mean, I don't know.
work that in.
I love it.
Yeah. Might be-
Okay.
Well, why don't, yeah, let's have a couple of days to think about it.
Okay,
If Ann
sounds
could
good.
remind us to get back to her, right, Ann?
And that meeting is scheduled at 11 and anticipated to go how long?
I think it's just an hour and a half.
Okay.
So, we don't have any other meetings that we need to set up online or anything at this time? Okay, board superintendent feedback, anything there?
Just a thank you to the elementary students and staff for the Veterans Day program. Once again, it was phenomenal. It's,
That's a
the
good
kids,
program.
the kids did so well, and the teachers had it so well organized, and the staff was all helping, and the whole community's getting involved now. It really is. It's a wonderful program, and a lot of the vets were moved to tears. Some of the vets' wives were moved to tears. And then they really enjoyed their time over here at lunch. So once again, the high school students really should be commended, along with high school staff, and then Robin and the kitchen staff did a fantastic job.
Oh, Tom, thank you for this. Okay, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
Sure. Second.
Second by Gary. Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you all for showing up. It's always a pleasure.
Always?
Always. It's always a pleasure, Michaeline.
7:40. So there's a new